But artistic beauty of Islamic monuments is not limited to mosques only. It also includes houses and palaces side by side with fortresses and architectural constructions. El Sahimi House is one of the prominent houses in Cairo that dates back to the 18th century and is regarded as a perfect example for the style of decoration and designing at that time. Its entrance is even amazing. It makes one feel as if it is a time machine. One of the most interesting things or features of this house is the mashrabiyah, one of the beautiful designs of that age. To Western eyes, there was always a magic to the mashrabiyahs, those handsome wooden screens that once masked the exteriors of buildings throughout the Arab East. Mashrabiyas were veils drawn against the outside world, and behind their cool shield of latticework, those inside did recline in shaded privacy, while gazing out at the tumult of the streets below. The facade of a Sahimi house is beautified with some attractive mashrabiya windows, imparting on the street and some other simple decorations that reflect the spirit of the 16th and 17th century. And this is the first attractive part. The interior plan of this house includes some parts that were dedicated only to women, known as haramlik, and others for men, known as salamlik. The main portal of this house is followed by a vast open courtyard with a fountain in its center. And the courtyard was annexed with an area with nice seats where men were gathering for negotiating work affairs, and if there is no stranger, women were allowed to join the men.
We have in the area here in Shara al-Mu'izz or Mu'izz Street, we have many of these houses, but actually this is the biggest and the most famous and the most important. This one is from the Ottoman period, and this is about 1648. So it's the latest to be built in the street, and that's why it's the latest as a furniture and design belonging to this era. Istahimi was a very, very wealthy merchant, and he built his house for his family. And the decoration is really rich and really fascinating. It's all handmade. And also it's very famous by the wooden windows. We call them arabesque, you know, to let the people to look at the street, but nobody can look at them in the house, you know. It's just a kind of protection for the ladies. So it's the biggest, and that's why also the government took care of this Sahimi house and did the restoration to all the handmade work and the house itself for about 3 or 4 times.
What are the most important places inside the house that you can talk to us about?
Actually, in our modern time, we call it now the living room, but before it was called the guest room. The guest room is beautiful. It has Moroccan style. The tiles and the mosaics is all handmade, and it has a kind of ventilation system. You know, they didn't have fans or air condition then, so they had these very high windows, which let the fresh air to go from everywhere to the living room or the guest house. I love also the area of the mosque. They have a very small mosque for the people coming to visit the owner and the people coming to visit the family. They have a ladies' room. This is separate from the guest room. This is in the second floor, and they have a very big balcony for the ladies, so also the ladies can watch who's coming and going, and nobody can watch the ladies. So this is the lovely places I love in the house.
The second floor of the house was enclosing a loggia or central hall with huge windows and a nice open dome for ventilation and illumination, also designed in a way that reflect the impact of the Mamluk style on the Ottoman one. Mamluk sultans and emirs were known for their jealous patronage of art and architecture throughout the Mamluk period. Their projects could include a single mausoleum or a small charitable building, while their larger architectural complexes typically combine many functions into one or more buildings. And these could include charitable functions and social services, such as a mosque, a hospital, a school, or a sabil, which is a place for dispensing water to the local population, or a commercial functions, such as wikala or khan, which is a caravanserai to house merchants and their goods. These buildings and their institutions were protected by waqf agreements, which rendered them the status of charitable endowments or trusts, which were legally inalienable in Islamic law. This allowed the Sultan's legacy to be assured through architectural projects, and his tomb, and potentially the tombs of his family, was typically placed in a mausoleum attached to his religious complex. Worth admiration in this part is the hall, the beautiful polychrome inlays and marble patterns that were usually used for decorating houses and mosques alike in this period. addition to that, the courtyard with its high ceiling was ornamented with attractive brassworks that highlight the magnificent style of decoration of the medieval Islamic period. The Haramlik of El Sahimi house, like most of the houses of the wealthy people, was annexed to bath area since middle-class members were usually using the public baths. Of special note in this part of the house are the luxuriously decorated ceiling, windows of stained glass and lattice wooden works ornamenting the corners of the Haramlik. In addition to the Haramlik and the central courtyard, there are some richly decorated private rooms for women, and within the garden enclosure to the house, one can find a well, storerooms, and a flour mill that were usually attached to the houses of the wealthy people. Worth mentioning thing is that El Sahimi house is used as a museum and a center for cultural meetings nowadays.